And I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
United
America
States of
and
America,
to the republic for which it stands,
which stands
one nation,
one nation,
under
under God,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Thank you. So it's great to see so many familiar faces out tonight. We'll begin our meeting with the public comment portion of the meeting. Those who would like to speak, you can sign up on the list over here, and then you'll be entitled to 3 minutes to speak. And then when you do speak, please state your name and address for the record. I'd also like to add that we have a number of public hearings tonight, so you're welcome to make your 3-minute public comment at the beginning, and then you'll also have 3 minutes to provide your opinion about each individual public hearing. But if you'd like to speak about the public hearing, you can reserve your comment for then. So we'll get started with our list. So Shirley, now you have the list there.
Public comment, we have one person signed up, it's Christopher Broich.
Okay.
In Zoom? Okay.
All right, so we can begin with Mr. Broich, and then we can also, by show of hands, we can call people up as well. Okay, thank you. So Charles, we can let some individuals on via Zoom, and thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? Sage or anybody? No?
Okay. All right, Jess. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? Okay, so if just by a show of hands, I could call, and then you could come up to the podium, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
They might be waiting for these public.
All right, so you're welcome to kick it off if you'd like. But it'd be helpful if everyone wanted to sign in the list too. Okay, oh, perfect.
I think they all signed, Jesse.
Okay.
To which the public hearing. Public hearings that were signed, I think folks have signed up.
We can start the public hearings, but if anyone would like to make a general public comment, for example, about traffic, you're welcome to make it now. The comments for the public hearing are reserved for the U-turns, the stop signs, and et cetera. And you're welcome to make both, so.
So we're going in.
Yes, thank you.
So my name is Diane Pacito, and I reside at 172 Somerset Avenue. I am strongly advocating for a continuation of the pilot program to prohibit right turns on Hill Street from Somerset during rush hours, Monday through Friday. When I take late afternoon, evening walks to return home or driving north on Somerset, I am keenly aware of the unsafe conditions that I will be encountering. I am supportive of addressing the broader traffic issues of the village, in addition to addressing the safety issues on Somerset and Pleasant during rush hour. Public safety is what we count on public officials to provide, so I ask you to recognize the pilot as a public safety measure. Please know that Somerset Pleasant is unique from the other village streets. We have multiple blind turns navigated by rush hour commuters who are anxious to get home and negligent about public safety. Cars and trucks have taken down mailboxes and trees. People have had to scramble onto the grass to avoid getting mowed down during what should be peaceful walks. A neighbor recently counted 150 cars entering Somerset from McGee in a 20-minute period during rush hour. This is not a quiet village street. That's a highway. During this time, there are children riding bikes, people walking pets, strolling seniors, all menaced by the commuters who drive recklessly and wreak havoc on Somerset and Pleasant. For those who mention traffic flowing onto Bishops and Corrigan, I am supportive of no right turns from those streets also, but that addresses a volume challenge. Somerset Pleasant is a safety concern. This pilot is achieving objectives. Traffic remains on Hill and County Road 39, and the public safety issues have been addressed. The pilot only began 8 days ago, not enough time to collect data and draw conclusions, so it is premature to discuss the pilot at this point in time. Moreover, the first couple of weeks of any pilot is an adjustment period. Commuters are recognizing new village measures and making adjustments, so some amount of disorientation is expected. I reiterate my view, maintain the public safety pilot while at the same time addressing the broader village traffic issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there an additional public speaker? If not, feel free to come on up.
Mayor Warren, Ms. Aresta, Ms. Brown, Mr. Stevenson, Mr. Manger. I'm Jack Zacharias. I reside at 160 Somerset Avenue here in the village. I voted for each and every one of you. Well-meaning people can disagree on a whole host of issues. What we shouldn't disagree on is the primacy of public safety and the obligation of this board and its mayor to put resident safety first. Human safety goes before convenience, quality of life, social media posts, and just about any other issue this board may have before it. For a protracted period of time, the residents of Somerset and Pleasant Avenues have been at risk of imminent harm on a daily basis. The source of that risk, as Diane mentioned, is a tremendous volume of non-residential traffic speeding around 3 90-degree blind curves, which were never designed for the types of volume that we're seeing in our neighborhood. Those are not straight streets. They're not Bishops, they're not Corrigan, they're not Breeze. They are blind 90-degree turns. We have, as they speed around the turns in our subdivision, and it is a subdivision, it was called Broadlawns, right, when it was developed. I think you're well aware of that, right? They toss bottles and cans, half-eaten chicken bones as they tear through our neighborhood, trying to beat the traffic on Hill Street. It's all about beating the traffic on Hill Street. At the end of the day, we all know that that doesn't actually amount to anything for the average driver on Hill Street, right? Because it's just a matter of whether they're waiting on Somerset or they're waiting further east on Hill Street, right? Those people are cheating, right? They're cheating and they're terrorizing us in the process. Residents have witnessed and documented several cases of the Wild West nature of the driver behavior in the west end of the village, right? Non-residents showed tremendous disregard for the safety of our pedestrians and other drivers as they speed around the turns, running off the road. We've documented several incidents of vehicles ending up in front yards, not only running over mailboxes, but large trees, right, on those blind curves, right? So controlling the volume on Somerset and Pleasant, right, is paramount to minimizing risk, right? You have to do both. You have to control volume to minimize risk. There are a number of ways this board can consider doing that. We're not here to propose any specific solution, right? But we do need you to consider, as Diane mentioned, continuing this pilot so that you can develop a solution over time, right? Because our safety and the safety of all the people here depend on your doing the right thing tonight. So we plead with you to please continue studying the problem and finding ways to limit the dangerous traffic on our dangerous streets. And again, compared to the other streets, I think we're unique. And I think you should keep that in mind as you consider the next steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Carol Zacharias, 160 Somerset as well. First of all, I want to say that we all have traffic problems here in the village, right? We all have speeders. We all have people blowing stop signs. We all have people running too close to the edge of a road, and we all have the volume. There's not a whole lot anybody can say to avoid any of that at this juncture. But there's one thing that is different. The difference is someone is going to get terribly, terribly hurt on Somerset Avenue. This morning, somebody blew through the stop sign and a gentleman was walking down the street. He was with his son and a dog. I was working at a desk on a second floor office overlooking. I heard an argument you usually don't even hear in this village. The father was letting this big truck have it because he nearly hit him. Now, my husband took a video of it and sent it to Jesse. You can see it. I don't suggest that this is something that we should all turn our heads at of one particular problem, but this is the kind of thing that's going on all the time. Another neighbor was taking a walk. She went around a blind turn. She nearly got hit when a car came right at her. Another person you may hear from today has had three cars in their front lawn, not on the edge, on the middle of their front lawn. Another person in Lester Oakwitz has had 2 cars on his front lawn. Now, these lawns are where the 90-degree curves happen, where they're laid out. So by closing, let me just say one thing. Broadlawns was laid out. It was supposed to be a street you enter on Hill Street, you come north, and you circle around Pleasant, and you go out, back down Hill Street. A lovely little bucolic circular neighborhood. When it was designed, somebody said, no, there's on information and belief, oh no, you gotta have a connection so we can get to the highway with our emergency vehicles. So they required that odd little dog leg going from Somerset up further north to connect to the highway. That's why that funky little street exists. But they made one fatal error in what we call urban design. They failed to fix the road curves. So instead of having all the other, look on Google Maps, instead of having all the streets going nice and straight, ours has this bizarre turn situation. They failed to protect the human safety. What they should have said to the Broadlawn development is, listen, we want you to have the street connected. You've got to go back and relay out the housing development here because you can't have these turns, of course. They didn't. So they built the development years ago, and here we all are. It's no one's fault. No one's to blame. But we've got to fix the safety issue. 3 cars on one person's front yard, 2 cars on someone else's front yard, someone almost getting hit head on, and today a little boy and a father and a dog nearly getting hit. It's going to be on the front page of the newspaper. So I think we have to take a pause, protect the situation on Somerset, keep these cars down to a dull roar while we all figure out how to protect the village together. And I would suggest that we have to make a seminal decision in that regard. And that decision is not the estate section. I will let them speak for themselves. I don't want to be presumptuous. But for those of us that live between Hill Street and the highway, those 10 or so square blocks from the village and ending on Somerset, those 10 or so square blocks, do you want these to be on and off ramps to highways, in which case we move? Or do you want to preserve the residential nature of this community? If you want to make this a residential community in these in-between blocks, you've got to keep it residential. We're simply an on-ramp. That's all we are. Thanks.
Thank you.
David Rung, 85 Pleasant Lane. Let me just not repeat anything that's already been said, but what I hear that is possible feedback that you are receiving as to why we should discontinue this thing is that somehow by not allowing right-hand turns out of Somerset onto Hill Street, that is causing more backup on Hill Street. If you are hearing that, it is just not valid. Understand that whether cars come from Job's Lane into Hill Street or any of the streets from the north into Hill Street or from the south into, there is no more traffic or less traffic caused by having a no right-hand turn, because everybody has to just get to a point in Hill Street. And so if you're hearing that as pushback as to why we're thinking of doing this for Somerset, it just is not valid. So hopefully you're not accepting that and you're explaining that to people who are trying to use that as a reason. It is not valid, right? The other thing I'm hearing is, people like to come on the south side, down Ox Pasture and up Lee Street. And all I would say on that is, why do those people have precedent over all the people who are already lined up on Hill Street? Why is their time more valuable than the people who are already there? Because everybody who enters into Hill Street further on is just slowing up the traffic further down. Okay, I obviously we're all here just to comment on the Somerset situation. We hope that continues, although candidly, I think the right answer is not the no right turn. It should be no through traffic. And candidly, I really think you should consider doing that on multiple streets, whether that be Bishop, Corrigan, Moses, Halsey Street. If you did that, you would significantly increase the flow of traffic out Hill Street because people would not be stopped by all the traffic coming in. That's really a really far-reaching approach to this problem, okay? But anyhow, I hope if you're getting, you're being influenced by either of those arguments that this situation is causing more traffic in Hill Street, that's not valid. If you're being influenced by people saying, oh, I have to be able to make my left-hand turn off Lee and off Captain's Neck, it's like, why are these people privileged? Why do they get to slow up all the traffic that's already on Hill Street? So again, just try to respond to whoever may be giving you that kind of pushback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lou Leone. I live at 134 Somerset Avenue. So my wife tells me, I don't get emotional, because I'll start going like this and whatnot. So I'm going to try to keep it so I don't really get emotional, but it is an emotional issue, and that's what's so tough about it. I'll give you 2 instances that happened to me. One was on my bike coming from Hill Street, basically trying to go toward my house. And as it came on the second curve, we had a car that was behind me, was sort of passing me. So it's passing me, and then another car's coming the other way from McGee, and they're going around the curve, and one's a little further over than the other. So my guy, who's on my side, basically pushes me, kind of gets in my way, and I'm like, well, my bike went basically on the grass. So just pushed me right off the road. There wasn't any big curve or anything like that, so I didn't flip or anything like that, but obviously was on the grass there as well. Second was, walking toward Hill Street around the curve where we've had multiple issues. And again, another car coming around, they almost swiped me. I was like, but basically, the reason so many people have showed up, the reason that we have people here, people on Zoom, and they're talking about one issue after another, is because if you live on Somerset Ave or Pleasant Avenue, it's something terrible is going to happen. You just see too many things happen so often. And I look out my window, I'll see, there's a young family with a stroller, there's people walking their dogs, the couples, and you get a pit in your stomach. Like, are they going to get hit? Because you see the curves and you see the cars coming, and you just know that it's a perfect storm between the blind curves, the volume, the running through the stop sign that just happened this morning. It's just going to happen. So I think the way to look at it is we've substantiated a lot of this. We've got video, we've got pictures. Every time something happens, there's a lot of people showing up, right? So give this a lot of weight. Don't look at someone who maybe makes some speculative comment about what's going to happen, or some unsubstantiated comment that has no backing behind it, or in the worst case, just false narratives that really don't even apply to us. Look at this for what it is, because taking those one-off comments and giving them the same weight as what's going on is just, not only is it unfair, but sort of irresponsible. So we really want you to take a look at this issue, and we really beg for you to keep this going on in terms of, specifically for Somerset and Pleasant, the pilot that's going on right now. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your time. Deb Leone, 134 Somerset. I'm the wife that told them not to be emotional. And I am intentionally going to repeat what everyone is saying because I want to make sure that our message is very clear and that it resonates. And so we need to continue with the Phase 1 measures. Phase 1s are achieving the intended objectives of keeping the traffic on County Road 39 and on Hill Street, and you are addressing the safety issues on Somerset and Pleasant, and that should be continued. we would be really disappointed in the village leadership if only after a very short period of time, the trustees and the mayor decide to stop this program. This is a real and difficult problem, and we really do understand that. But more time needs to be dedicated to these measures to better understand the viability of this solution and knock-on effects and other potential solutions. In addition, we'd like further measures to be considered and implemented to help relieve the congestion and help the traffic flow on Hill Street and CR 39. The Somerset, and I'm reiterating again, but again, intentionally so, our issue is unique. I believe my neighbors have all described that. This is not a quality of life issue, and we really resent people that say that. That's very unfair. This is first and foremost a safety and a real safety issue and concern. Accidents, near misses occur regularly with cars, with trucks, walkers, and bikers. I'm an avid walker. I walk 8 to 10 miles, 5-6 days a week, all through the town, Somerset, north, south, east, and west. I have had at least 4 near misses on Somerset where I literally needed to jump on lawns to make sure I didn't get hit by a car. When I walk down the street, I'm scared. When my family walks down the street, I'm very nervous. We all spoke about the neighborhood not being designed for this type of traffic. 150 cars were documented in 20 minutes. That's ridiculous. At high speeds, and again, with these multiple blind, sharp curves. Somerset was not originally designed to handle this traffic, and something must be done. So we're asking you, as the public leaders of our community, to fulfill your responsibility as human beings, as fiduciaries of our town. Please, you must address these safety issues, and it must be time sensitive. I really fear that no action, keeping a blind eye, is going to result in a serious injury or a fatality. So I ask you, please, fulfill your duties.
Good evening. My name is Ken Hoyer. I live at 129 Somerset Avenue. And I don't need to reiterate all the safety concerns that we all share and I think are getting through. But what I would add is I think from my observations just driving around town that the pilot actually seems to be working. If one of the goals beyond the safety on some of the side streets and the crowded of the village streets is to get the flow of people and the infrastructure of the village was not designed to accommodate the current traffic situation. I realize that that's a bigger problem, but it does seem like the flow on Hill Street is moving much better, and it's the merging from all of the side streets onto Hill that causes as much of the problem as the sheer volume. So in talking to the mayor and seeing him out there and observing, I think he would agree that witnesses and maybe more traffic studies need to be done. But Somerset has its unique curvatures, and everybody's beat that to death. But all of the side streets and everybody, if you go back to the way it was before the pilot, and just to have all these cars now scattered throughout all the village streets again, you're not really solving a problem, and it's just gotten worse over the years. So just wanted to give my 2 cents as another witness of, I think the pilot program is working, and maybe more data needs to be done. So I would encourage you not to stop it without following through and letting the analysis play out. Thank you.
Thank you. Feel free to come on up. Thank you.
My name is Mike Neisberg. I live at 30 Barnhart Street. Just an observation, I noticed on Hill Street, when you come out of the village, there's an incline, and that tends to slow traffic down. Now, I've seen the signs said maintain speed, flashing light, but I know inclines too, because that happens on the expressway at exit 39. There's an incline that just tends to slow traffic down. So if there's some signage about maintain speed, incline, even that little bit may help just to keep it moving a little quicker. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, I was actually standing on St. Andrews at the corner, and I noticed that the cars actually were still not going as fast as they could be going. So I was actually surprised. So we got to continue to get that message out to, once the cars get to that point, keep on going, because there was, I would have expected the cars to move faster and at a higher cadence. In any case, this is more about public comment for everyone to speak tonight. I just wanted to add that as well. So thank you for the comments.
One comment, just a quick anecdotal comment. I'm Jack Luther, I live at 57 Pleasant Lane. And on the way over to this meeting, I went down Bishop Pond to Hill Street. There were 4 cars coming up to Bishop Pond. And Hill Street was backed up to Jobs Lane. So the issue of Bishop Ponds having backup traffic, there's 4 cars at 6:45 today. So anecdotally. The other thing I want to point out, we've been here 15 years, or the 4-month summer folks here. And we have grandchildren. And that community in Pleasant and Somerset has turned over in the last 5 to 7 years. There are little children now walking around. There are strollers. There are more and more people outside because they enjoy that area. It's not like people are shut in. So there's some dynamics that have changed over the last few years that I think should be considered as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Cordy. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just want to say the pilot's working, and I thank you, and I hope you continue it. But I've been on that street. I live on 63 Pleasant Lane. I've been there since 1976, raised all my children, my grandchildren. Today, it was my son and grandson and my dog that confronted that truck that was 1,500 tons. It was way over the limit flying through there. My son lives in Florida, and he was just coming up to visit, and he cannot believe the traffic. And it's not just from 3 to 7. They're flying through there with trailers, the landscapers with their trailers. They're flying through there all day. I have 2 boxers, and I walk at least 2 miles a day with them, morning and night in that neighborhood. And I cannot tell you how many times my other son's a police officer, and he gave me his police vest with, the bright yellow with striped reflective tape on it to wear, and he said, wear it all the time. But I keep getting run off the road. 90% of the people will give you a wide berth, but the others will come right up, and I'm jumping up. I try to stay on the grass. The dogs are on the grass, and I stay on the road. But I just want to let you know the pilot's working, and I thank you. And I hope you continue to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Linda, we also have a public hearing to amend our village-wide speed limits, and on that, we have a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit that's going on Pleasant, down from basically 30 to 25 to 20 now. So I think that will also hopefully help, but that's for a different public hearing. I'm just letting you know if you want to hang around for that one. So thank you. Feel free to come on up.
Wayne Miller from 24 Somerset Avenue. First off, my neighbor's very eloquent. I mean, I think they got the whole message out. A couple of things I just wanted to add. I walk the streets a lot also around where I live and on the south side. The signage for those 290-degree, there's nothing there. There's one rusty sign. So I thought maybe you guys could look into something like this, pretty inexpensive, or something that says sharp curve. And we should have 4 signs, 1 on each side on 2 of those 90-degree turns. The other thing to add is these aren't just cars overturning. In the summer of '20, an oil truck overturned. It was like a war zone. Wow. There were fire engines, police cars, because they thought the thing was going to blow up. That was on 45 Somerset. That was the turn closest to Hill Street. Mm-hmm. I really think this pilot phase 1 should continue. I also thought, Jesse's been great, we've been back and forth on this. I also thought that eventually it would go to Bishop and to Corrigan, because I don't see why Bishop should be handling all this traffic, although somebody says not a lot of traffic, but I think in the summertime, it will be much, much worse. I'm not sure the tie-in with us on that side versus Lee and Captain's Neck, why it was all tied together. You know, starting this phase one with no right turn and no left turns, I thought it would have been better to phase in Somerset, then to go to Bishop and to Corrigan, if that was necessary. And I think it probably will be necessary. But safety, yeah, I mean, I'm on the streets all the time, and depending on when I'm walking, when it's a straightaway, you see the cars coming, and you can maneuver. But when you're in those turns, if you're on the street, you can hear it. But depending upon the speed of the car, I've had to jump up on the grass several times also. I think it is extremely dangerous, and I think right now we're just dodging bullets. You know, eventually I think we're going to have a problem. I thank you for going after this, and Jesse, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Are there any other public comment? Okay.
Zoom people might want to comment.
All right, very good. Thank you, Diane. Charles, I don't know if there's anyone raising their hand on Zoom now. There's probably quite a few. All right.
Okay.
Anyone from Portugal? It's actually kind of late there.
I have Julia.
Okay. Our local traffic engineer. Julia.
You can speak.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Julia Lavopi. I reside on 70 Pleasant Lane. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor Jeffrey for listening to our concerns, working with us to develop a viable solution, and implementing the pilot program. We appreciate his efforts and his continued support. We believe the pilot program has been successful in achieving the objectives to reduce traffic in our neighborhood and to make the streets safer. To be clear, the traffic problem is foremost a safety issue. Non-residential vehicles that use our neighborhood as a cut through to Hill Street run through the stop signs, speed through our streets, drive on the wrong side of the street as they try to negotiate the curves in our neighborhood. This has created a hazardous and unsafe situation, which is exacerbated by the twists and blind curves that make our neighborhood unique, and by the volume of vehicles that use Somerset and Pleasant Lane as a cut through. As we've mentioned before, we have had vehicles collide with trees and mailboxes and near misses with pedestrians. It's only a matter of time before a vehicle collides with a pedestrian or another vehicle and causes bodily injury or death. Over a 5-day period, I observed traffic in our neighborhood at different times during the evening commute. On average, over a 20-minute period, 120 vehicles enter the neighborhood. Let's put this in perspective. Triple that. That's 360 vehicles in 1 hour. Over the entire evening commute, we're talking about 720 to 1,000 vehicles that pass through our streets. The majority of these vehicles are non-commercial vehicles, not your landscape. I mean, although they do pass through, most of the vehicles are private passenger types. Our streets cannot safely handle that volume of traffic. This is a residential community. We regularly use our streets to walk with our neighbors, our pets, our children. Children ride their bikes in the streets. It's become unsafe to do so, given the volume of vehicles that drive through, with some with reckless disregard for the people who live here. We strongly encourage the Board of Trustees to continue the pilot program. It has been successful in addressing the traffic and safety issues in our neighborhood. Also, more time is needed to gather the relevant statistics to properly evaluate the impact of the program that it has on other traffic flows, and to develop solutions to problems that may have arisen and that were unforeseen. It takes time to change driver behavior. Some unforeseen issues may resolve themselves as a result of drivers becoming accustomed to the new traffic pattern and seeking alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles, is there any other comments on Zoom?
I see all the hands.
Okay. Is there anyone else from the audience who would like to speak? Okay. Amy, come on down.
Hi, I'm Amy Plum. I live at 131 Bailey Road. I'm a village resident, sorry, taxpayer. So I live just west of Somerset, Lee Avenue. We've cut off Lee Avenue, we've cut off Captain's Neck, we've cut off Somerset. So I'm one of the few people that live west of that, and I use Lee Avenue all the time because I live here, and I use Captain's Neck all the time, and I use Somerset all the time because I live west of there. Now I can't even get home, you guys. It's like, and you know, these are public streets. I'm a taxpayer. I pay to use them. How is it that I cannot use the streets that I pay for, and I pay a lot of tax dollars? So I understand the safety concerns. Obviously, I mean, I see it. I see the traffic that builds up. But I think cutting off people that actually pay to use these streets is unfair. And, you know, I'm trying to get home from work now. I mean, this summer, for instance, I'm driving up. I work in Waynescott. I drive home. It took me 45 minutes to get to the movie theater, which is normal. I get to the movie theater. It took me an hour to get from the movie theater to Bailey Road. And that was when the streets were open and you could turn off of Lee Avenue and Captain's Neck. I mean, it's really, I think, the biggest problem, which it started with the traffic light at St. Andrews. And when I think the county put that traffic light in, that is when that whole area came to a standstill. There was never a problem on Hill Street. There was never, ever a backup until that light was put in. And I've lived there for 15 years, so. But anyway, I'm just asking you, you know, for those of us that are taxpayers and residents of the village, I should be able to make a left off of Lee Avenue or Captain's Neck or make a right off of Somerset. And now I'm going around, I mean, you're just redirecting traffic. Now I go down McGee, I take a left through the Roscoe development and a left on Tuckahoe Lane to get home. So you're just redirecting me through somebody else's neighborhood. It's not solving the problem. Okay, anyway.
Thank you, Amy. Amy, you make a very valid point, and you're in a unique and very special situation given where you live, and I, you know, one-way street nonetheless too. So you're you know, we have to do some homework, especially for your neighborhood and Bailey Road, because you make a very valid points. Just on the traffic light, we do obviously, as you know, flash it yellow now. And after months of correspondence with the New York State Department of Transportation, who controls that light, they actually agreed to actually increase the time on green and reduce the red, and they do that year round now after our correspondences with them. So it took 3-4 months to get them to do that, but I don't know if you've seen any outside of the pilot. I don't know if you've seen any difference, but
Sorry.
all right, thanks.
I just wonder, I'm not sure like what the study was done when that light was added. Actually, how much traffic really utilizes that traffic light coming off of St. Andrews? How many cars really need to have that stoplight there? I mean, I don't recall there really ever being a problem there, but it's created a backlog for the entire eastern side of Southampton. And now everybody else is included in with it. But there was never a problem. The traffic flowed, no problem. And now it's a nightmare.
And the irony is that light's not even in the village, and it's also
I know.
controlled by the state.
Right.
So that's the two, but we've
Right.
been working with the state on that.
Well, it's good that they're
Yeah.
finally, because when Epley was here and it started becoming an issue back, it's got to be like 8-10 years ago, I think, that they put that light in. And I remember calling him because he lived off of Hill Street. He couldn't get home. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why can't we get home anymore? And he was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on either. And then it came up that it was this traffic light that was added. And, you know, it was kind of secretly added in the middle of the night. Nobody knew about it. I think it was literally added. I feel like it was, at the time, Mark said that it was the Greek church sort of had asked that it be added for their, parishioners to be able to kind of come in and out of St. Andrews safely. But that was, that's a rumor, who knows, whatever, but everything was fine until that traffic light showed up. And it's only on Sunday, and which is really when it should be operating. It should just be a blinking light, like the one at Tuckahoe Lane should be blinking all the time. I mean, I don't even know why that traffic light is there, and somebody took that out last week and got knocked out, but which is interesting. But it really should only be operating, and maybe you can, they should come out here and take a look at it. But I think that the one at St. Andrews should only be really operating on a Sunday when people are using the church. There's really just no traffic on that road, and I cut through on that road all the time too. But they're public roads. We should be able to use them. And I understand people are frustrated and they don't like people going through their neighborhoods. I get it, but we all pay tax. I know. No, I understand. I live here, you guys. I get it. I live here year round. I know.
All right, everyone will.
Anyway, I
Thank
get
you
it.
very
I have
much.
3 kids. I understand safety. That's my foremost thing. But we also have to all live together, and we all pay taxes.
Thank you very much, Amy.
When there's blood on the street, we'll let you know.
All right, so we'll keep moving. I'm not sure if there's any other comments tonight. All right, Christine, we see you there, and appreciate the suggestion. We're going to reach back out to New York State DOT and see if they can maybe even just do that light on Sundays.
I wasn't planning to say anything, but I think that there are lots of pockets in the village where there are huge problems.
If you don't mind, Christine, if you just pull the
It's
mic down a
Christine
little bit.
Whitaker, and I don't want to be misrepresented in what I'm saying, but all I'm saying is I think I think they do have a real concern, and I think that there are other pockets in the village where there are real traffic problems, Meeting House Lane, the whole center of the village. I mean, they're describing potential injuries to the persons. And I've used Somerset in the past. And from what I could see in this last week or so, apart from the 3 rainy days or whatever it was, I thought it seemed to be keeping the traffic flowing on Hill Street better. That's all, and I just sympathize. But I do think there are serious traffic problems, and the solution isn't just bike lanes. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. All right, is there any other public comment from the audience? Okay, so what I'd like to do is, we'll keep moving with our meeting. We have our Employee of the Month. What I would like to do is, before our public hearings, I do think it's important to discuss this with the board and to figure out what we should do, because the reality is that if we take no action, the pilot program will be rescinded. So we should figure out what to do tonight. There's no, this is a challenging issue, and we can have the discussion. But as I will say, apparently, this was a quote that Albert Einstein used to say repeatedly, where he'd say, "You never fail until you stop trying." So we have to keep on trying to do something. So I want to try to put together a game plan, understanding that clearly we have happy residents, but there are also some secondary issues that arise. So I'd like to think about maybe just have a quick discussion before we go into the public hearings, and we can kind of come to some type of conclusion, or at least draw something this evening, because I just don't want to let the program expire. Or we could, but obviously depends on the votes of the board. But I'd like to try to flesh something out rather than taking no action. So we'll move to the Employee of the Month and obviously gather your thoughts. So I'll quickly announce our Employee of the Months this evening. And this is an important part of every monthly meeting, because we've got a number of outstanding village employees. In this particular month, we're going to recognize 3 employees. Tom Runinsky, James Farrell, and Matt Salaka. They work in the Parks and Building Maintenance Department, and they are maintenance mechanics. And obviously, we have a nice sized audience here tonight, but we have an outstanding Department of Public Works. They all together keep our parks and our highways and our roads cleaned and well maintained. And these are the men and women that work behind the scenes to make sure that everything is running smoothly. And they do a great job, and they are good, hardworking people that help us out every day. So we're going to recognize these 3 employees tonight. And John Flick, who's their supervisor, talked about they have recently been working together to remove and replace air conditioning system in the central garage, very efficient manner with minimal disruption to the mechanics. They have superior teamwork and communication in solving problems that arise during this installation, and they are outstanding around working around obstacles. John was recently also promoted with Gary Gillespie's recent retirement. Steve Phillips has taken the helm as our interim head of public works, and everybody has really stepped up. And I'm very proud of our public works department and the men and women who serve us there. They've done an outstanding job. They never complain, and we're very lucky to have a great public works department to help keep Southampton Village special. So congratulations to Tom, James, and Matt. So my apologies, this is an addition to the agenda here, so my apologies to the board for kind of putting everyone on the spot, but I just would like to hear a little bit of comments and feedback from the board, just to get a sense of what you guys were thinking and what we can do. I know that there's a number of good ideas that I've heard from the board, but if you've got any suggestions, I'm open to hearing it.
Well, obviously, the situation on Somerset is very serious, and it's, thank you all for coming out, because obviously it's very, very blunt when you get to hear people that are actually living there and speaking about their experiences. So I do very much appreciate that. I'm curious. Here's a crazy idea. What would you think if the village did close off the road to McGee Street and it was only a dead-end cul-de-sac basically off of Hill Street?
Okay. All right.
So that could be one option that we could look at. Yeah, and I appreciated that history. I actually did go up to the records on the third floor of this building and found when Broadlands was drawn out. It was 1974, and I recognized some of the names. Orson Munn was a trustee at the time, and I saw all the discussions, and so I did do some of that. But I really appreciate you coming and again explaining what went on there and how, again, by opening that up, they should have taken into account the curves in the street there, and which they did not. So, Jesse, I would be looking at all options again, and possibly closing off the road there, and making it really a dead end cul-de-sac as it was originally developed. Right, but obviously we can't do that right this second.
Right,
but
right.
That would be one idea that we could certainly look at. But I'm curious, how many people are going to want to kill me for saying that? Okay, there are a couple that don't like it.
That's not a kill, that's a support.
Okay.
I was the third person in that area, and we were supposed to have that. Larry Angolia fought very hard to have that cul-de-sac closed off.
Closed off.
I was there.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, Mrs. Cordy. Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, we're going to keep it orderly because everyone, we're going to make public comment. It's got to be on the record. But we're having a discussion here. I figured some board members would have some good thoughts here. I think that's an excellent idea. And obviously, it's about what the residents want. So if that's what residents are asking for, we can try to make that happen. So I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't help Amy. I'm sorry, Amy.
Nobody wants to help Bailey Road. There you go.
No, that's not
That's
true.
not-
That's
that's
not
not
true.
true.
The dead
Amy.
end, which I chose to do because I had 3 little kids.
Yeah.
I didn't want people driving through my neighborhood either. I get it.
All right, we'll keep
Have to get home.
this moving here. Any other comments
No,
from
it's
the
just
board?
that I sympathize. I've been up on that street. I've been walking on that street when a trailer comes by going, I don't even understand how they make those turns. It's really, and it's just, so something has to be done. I mean, and I think and that's why we're trying this program. And we put more streets in there because, and I think on Somerset and Pleasant it's more of a safety issue because of the curves there.
Yeah.
I don't even know why people would even want to cut through that street, to tell you the truth, because of all the curves. It's not a straight street. It's different, and Halsey is different, and each road is different. But if that's the way the development was originally intended to be, and if everybody's in agreement, I'm sure there's going to be other pushback as well. But I mean, that is something that I think would be really the only viable solution. to the people. I love the whoever came up with the curve sign. The problem is that those people that are speeding are not looking at signs. So it's nice. It may help with somebody that's, normal. Like I drive and I go, oh, there's a 25, it's a curve here. I slow down. But that's not the kind of people that are going, the rush hour people that are trying to get through, that are cutting through our village. I said at the last meeting, ultimately, the issue is keeping the people on the highway. And that's what we've been trying to do. I mean, one of the first things I did 2 years ago with Mayor Jesse was meet with the people from Suffolk County, because actually they control, we pay for the lights on the highway, but they control them. And so it's really, really, it's really tough working with them. So, but I think they see now how bad the problem is. So we're trying to do what we can. There's a lot of pushback from this pilot program. People wanted to stop. But I also believe that ultimately those people are going to end up on Hill Street anyway. So whether they're cutting through the village or they're waiting on Hill Street, it's the same thing. And the problem comes with that light. So, which is something else that we've been working on as well. So keeping the traffic flowing, because even if the traffic flows, you're going 5-10 miles an hour. As long as you're moving, it's okay. The same thing with the highway, and people just come to a dead stop and they sit there. So what am I going to do? I got to get off, and everybody goes different ways. But I think if it's moving even slowly, as long as it's moving, I think people will stay on the major thoroughfares, and that's really what we have to. That's our goal, is to keep the people up on the highway, and some on Hill Street, not as many, but try to keep as much as we can up on the highway. So that is our goal, and we've been working very hard on that.
Great.
Good
Any
evening.
other comments from the board?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I want to say first, thank you all for your comments, because these public comments do work. As we were saying, the board and the mayor, we are here to serve you, and there are ideas that you have suggested this evening that we may not have thought of. So I would suggest that we take, I know our clerk is taking great detailed notes and will be. I think we should take some of the things that we may not have thought of and possibly bring it back to the traffic consultant to take a closer look at it, and then at a later date give you some type of report so that you are understanding what exactly is going on. So I thank you again. The public comments do work, and we do care about these things, and safety is very important. Thank you.
I mean, that was so important that you brought that up to Trustee Manger, because we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Amy, we're just going to do a little.
One more thing about the safety, because I just have to say one more thing.
What we can do is maybe we can open up public comment at the end.
Okay.
Or
I just want to talk about the traffic that comes down Montauk Highway onto Hill Street, and the rate at which those trucks are driving is terrifying. I mean, that is, I can't, we have all these cops that are stopping people from driving, but it's really scary the way that they come flying down Montauk Highway onto Hill Street.
You're not being recorded.
Well, maybe we'll finish this up, and we'll open it one more time for public comment, and then we could
Thank
move
you,
forward. But I
Charles.
think thank you very much.
I just wanted to add some comments if I could. I live in that area as well, and everything that we have from the pilot program is, it's just anecdotal. I drove home all the nights during the pilot program, and I did indeed think that the traffic was moving better. There was one rainy night where it was not so great. But I thought it moved better. Now, at the same time, I understand the feelings of the people who live in those areas, who, like Amy, who want to. I can't get my video on. I don't know how to do that.
It's on, it's on, it's on.
Roy.
It's on, Roy.
But I think the safety issue is super important. I know the Somerset area well. I live very close to there. I see some of the people walking from Somerset in my neighborhood, and it would be horrible to have any issue happen because of the traffic going through there. Now, at the same time, we've only done the pilot program for 8 days. We have to have data. There must be. I've seen some of the reports from Acting Chief Hertow about her impression of how the program is going. There has to be data in terms of being able to identify
how many cars are egressing the village on Hill Street now as opposed to before? I would think it would be better, but it would be great to have some data. I know we had a traffic study done that we discussed with the traffic engineer at the last board meeting. So we should be getting some data on how this pilot program is going. I think it's working. I do feel that, as people remarked today, once you shut down Somerset, the next step is going to be Bishops, the next step is going to be Halsey Neck. How far back do you go? Do you stop people going across Moses, which is another place? I mean, all of those are residential neighborhoods, and all of those people are going to be saying, well, why don't we get the protection from the traffic that all the other neighborhoods have? So it's a big problem, but I do feel that it is working, and I agree with Trustee Aresta that ultimately the goal can only be to make the Hill Street flow as well as possible, but have most people understand that they're probably just as well off staying on County Road 39.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. The only thing, I'll add a few comments here. So in summary, what is clear, this is a clear-cut safety issue for all of our residents, not just residents who are here today on Somerset and Pleasant, but across the entire village. When the residential streets are being used as highways, it creates a clear safety issue for all the residents, particularly residents who, as we discussed, may have children or grandchildren who want to use, obviously, the street. So if we can, at the same time, improve the traffic on Hill Street so it flows much better and faster, at the same time reduce the traffic on our side streets, that is exactly what we're trying to do. So obviously, we outlined some steps that we made. We did this pilot program. We are flashing the yellow lights. I've been working very closely also with Town Highway Superintendent Charlie McCardle and Jay Schneiderman, as well as the county, to also help put together a pilot program for the town where there'll be flashing yellow lights basically from Watermill all the way to Hampton Bays, because if we can get 27 moving, where that's obviously the main artery, that will obviously help the village as well. So hopefully that pilot program has some degree of success. We have, through our police department, we've actually reached out to Waze, because Waze is actually working with European cities to try to avoid traffic in city centers. So we haven't heard back, but we'll have to reach back out to Waze. So if there's a way to let them know not to send traffic through our side streets, they've done that with European cities before. So that's another thing that we're considering or working on. And then in addition, the big problem outside of the safety on the side streets, and the big problem about traffic on Hill Street, to me, which is more than, I think, anecdotal. I think this is very clear, and this is what I hear from the town highway engineer as well, is that the big problem are the one-for-one merges. So there is some truth to the fact that there's a little buildup further east, but that's just because instead of going out on Somerset, cars are obviously going out on Bishops or Corrigan or Halsey Neck. So this board does have to make a decision as to whether we want to obviously stop this or take this a step further and see what happens if we actually prohibit some of that through traffic on those streets as well. And then obviously, most importantly, continue a study with our engineers who can actually give us data. They should be out there collecting data about the number of cars that come through, so we know did it increase, decrease, or stay the same. We collected data about the number of vehicles on Hill Street before the pilot program, right after the end of the summer. I'd like to know the number of vehicles using Hill Street today. So those are critical things that we need to consider. But it's great to obviously get the comments from many residents who obviously care about safety and their fellow community members. So I think we're on the right track. At this point, though, we obviously have to make some decisions, and also we really need to rely on our traffic engineers to get us that data and to provide some recommendations so we can avoid any type of anecdotal nature here. So those are my comments here. I'm very happy that everyone came out tonight, and obviously I would just reiterate that we're all working for you, and our goal is to basically make everyone feel safe and also deliver for the village residents, regardless of which street you might live on. So we're excited to move forward because we have a number of public hearings. Again, we have 6 actually public hearings 4 have to do with traffic, including reducing speed limits, making U-turns illegal, and adding stop signs. So unless there's any other comments from the board, we'll move forward with the public hearings tonight. Anyone is welcome to make comments there. So what I'll do is I'll make a motion to open the first public hearing. That's the public hearing regarding local law 16/2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-37, Schedule F, stop sign on Powell Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So all this is, Andrew, feel free to jump in, but this is just we're adding a stop sign on Powell Avenue and Elm Street. Just,
Yes, because there's a stop sign on Elm, there's a stop sign on Powell, but there's no stop sign from the front of the train station, and they fly onto Powell Avenue. So we'd like to make it a three-way stop there.
And our traffic engineer recommended it be a
recommended
three-way
it.
stop instead of just a two-way stop with one lane that gets to keep going.
And obviously, this shows we're also, we do love everyone on Somerset, but we do also care about other streets too.
There are other streets of the village.
There are a few others.
We also changed the curving on that road as you enter into Powell, because just like Somerset, they're having a big problem with people speeding and using that as a cut-through. So we bumped out the sewers had to be redone anyway, so we bumped out the curbing. So, and when you're up there, so just pay attention that the road's a little bit narrow, and that's also to reduce the speed of peeping. So there's a couple of changes that have been on this. So this is actually the last change that we'd like to make on that corner to make it safer for the people on Powell.
Thank you. And thank you, Trustee Rest. I know you've been behind this, so thank you for your efforts there. I'm not sure if there are any comments from the board. If not, we can close, or comments from the public. But this is a very small amendment to our local code, so seeing no hands, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So I'll make a motion to open the second public hearing, which is a public hearing regarding local law 17-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-36, Schedule E, U-turns on Hill Street. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll turn this over to Bill. I wanted to thank Bill, Trustee Manger, for his help on this. He recognized that it actually was not illegal to make U-turns on Hill Street, and now it will be after this law passes. So
That's right.
I'll just let you
And
take it from
this
here.
came to my attention by Acting Chief Hertow, Lieutenant Hertow, said that the code book does not currently allow our officers to give people tickets for making U-turns, specifically on Hill Street from actually Windmill Lane to First Neck Lane, where we have a lot of diagonal cars parked in front of the old movie theater and Paul's Pizza, and everyone knows what's there. So she brought to my attention that there was nothing, so the officers could not give tickets for making a U-turn there, even though it is double yellow line. So this is adding to the code that it is illegal, so that the officers can actually give no parking tickets to people that make U-turns there.
I was just as surprised as you ladies are when I heard that, and that's a big problem there in that area with the stores. And you would think that because there's a double line there, that you know that you shouldn't make a U-turn, but just like what they do on Main Street, it happens in that particular section as well. So that will give the officers the ability to write a moving violation for that.
So can you still make a U-turn in front of Sacred Heart?
No, you cannot.
Why
You
not?
never.
It's
You
not a
have to
double
go.
yellow line?
That's all right. Just sneak around back and go
by the way-
around. That's where they come out of the driveway. That's all. That's not a U-turn. That's making a left turn to go to you. Oh, you. Well, nobody looks Sunday morning. So. You get it passed because you're going to church.
All right, so my job is
Don't
still
tell Father Mike.
my job is still to keep a little order. So if anyone would like to make a public comment for this public hearing, feel free to come forward. You have 3 minutes. So if there's any hands, feel free to come up. If not, any comments from board members? Okay. So that being said, I'll make a motion to close public hearing number 2. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing number 3, public hearing regarding local law 18-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-39, Schedule H, speed on Hill Street. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll quickly introduce this and then, turn this over to board members and then to the public. What we have here is in our packet here. What we're doing is we're making the village speed limit 25 miles per hour, and we're carving out a few streets that will be 30, and one street that will be 20. So basically here, this was a result of some of the work that our state assembly person, Fred Thiel, did on behalf of the village of Southampton and other concerning municipalities on the East End, where, believe it or not, it was actually a state law that prohibited villages and towns from lowering the speed limit down to 25 miles per hour. So thanks for some good collaboration and teamwork with our state lawmakers, and we pitched them on this, and they delivered for us. The governor, just a few months ago, signed this into law. So here we are. We're now subsequently making the change. I'll just read off what's going to be 30. First Neck Lane is going to be 30. Hill Street's going to be 30, which is a great.
Wait, can I just add,
Sure.
there's a caveat, though. It's from Breeze Lane going west.
That's right.
So from Breeze going east
Right.
into the village center, it'll
It's
still
20
be
it'll still be
25.
25.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. So First Neck Lane will be 30, the entire length. Hill Street 30 from Breeze Lane going west to Village Border. North Main Street 30 from Bowdoin Square north to the Village Border. North Sea Road 30 from Bowdoin Square north to the Village Border. Pleasant Lane will be 20, and South Main Street will be 30 for the entire length. So these are the changes, and every other street in the village will now be 25.
25.
If this passes, which I'm sure it will.
Well,
So-
although I'd like to add a couple of things. One, I'd like to see a change on North Main Street because of the school. I think 30 should not start until you get north of Powell, or where the railroad tracks are.
Okay.
And it should be from there going into the village. That should be 25.
25.
Because otherwise, you're going to have people speeding up right by the school, which is not good.
That's actually gets Railroad Plaza.
Railroad Plaza. Sorry,
should
Railroad
start.
Plaza.
Well, John
north.
Holden Plaza, as it
Yeah,
says,
yeah, yeah.
Saturday it'd be John
Yeah.
Holden Plaza.
And another one I wanted to raise, just for consideration by the board, is whether Hampton Road east of Little Plains should then go up to 30, because that's a long stretch. There are lights there. It's a wide road. I don't know if 25 is really appropriate once you get to Little Plains and you're going east out of the village. But again, that's up for the board to discuss, and if there are any comments, that's just my suggestion, because I think it's a long straightaway, and 25 is a little slow.
I heard some mumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the school zone, you'd have to slow
Amy,
down.
feel free to come on up and
Yeah.
grab the mic. Thank you. Sorry, I just appreciate it. Try to.
So there's, anyway, there's also the school zone.
Right.
Which is right by the Range Rover dealership and to the fire station, which is where you
Right.
have to slow down. So you can have a chunk of at 30 miles an hour on Hampton Road, which would be somewhat nice, but not necessary, I would say. I think if anything, we have a problem with speeding in our village and not enforcing the speed limit. And that's where I was saying earlier about the people that are flying down Montauk Highway onto Hill Street, heading east in the morning specifically, and then they're cutting through Lee Avenue, and they're cutting through Captain's Neck, and they are flying. And there are cement trucks and dump trucks and big, heavy commercial vehicles that are flying down onto Hill Street, and nobody is enforcing the speed limit. So we can put signs up all we want, but if we don't enforce it and we don't write tickets, they're going to keep doing it, and somebody's going to get killed. We're waiting for that to happen. It's bad.
Thank you, Amy.
No, you're right, Amy.
By the way, Amy, I was reading old minutes from 2016 and 2015. You were in every single public comment. I haven't seen you in 3 years, but okay, thank you. So I think that theoretically, I think that's a really good idea. But Amy does bring up a good point. By the school, and people are driving kind of fast and crazy. So
It's true. No, okay, that's fine. It was just a suggestion.
yeah. It's a good idea because we want the traffic to flow. The only other thing I'll bring up is, I'm sorry to do this, everybody. Do we want to make Somerset 20?
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, I know we want to keep traffic flowing, but
Are we allowed to make it 20? I'm not
Andrew,
sure if
sorry
we're
to-
allowed to make that 20.
can we,
By
I mean, how
state
many
law.
streets can we carve out? I mean, because obviously it has to be a global change, but I'm not sure if you're aware of.
Do you mean tonight or?
Tonight, if we can update it to be.
We have to do a public hearing. It's not noticed for that, so we can't do it this evening.
Could we make that change to North Sea Road, or can we pass it and then have to renotice and just make a few more tweaks? Okay.
So you can make it under 25, though, if you wanted to call that one street? Because I knew there was, definitely we had to wait for Fred Thiel to pass that in the state to make a blanket 25 miles an hour in the village.
I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, but what I think Andrew's saying is it might be considered a significant change and may need a further, an additional
So why don't
public
we do
notice. So we might
this?
just pass this tonight.
Yeah.
And then amend at the next,
Right.
and we'll
At least-
renotice.
At least we can get this moving.
Let's do that.
But I think, could we make the change on North Main Street?
Would that be significant or not to basically tweak
Just,
this
it's
so?
just changing the street where it starts.
Tonight?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we cannot change that.
No.
It's probably
Okay.
too
Notice.
significant. So we'd have to just
Okay.
close it, vote on it, and then renotice, and then have another public hearing to make those changes.
Okay.
So we can leave the public meeting open and make the changes, no?
No, I
They
want-
have to be
I
a set,
wanna-
you still have to notice
That's to be
it.
renoticed,
Yeah,
so you want to
renotice.
move on this and then renotice it
Okay.
for more changes later.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so again, to make that clear, the obviously law requires us, if we're going to make a significant change, we want to be on the side of caution. We'll have to, again, close this, vote on this, pass this speed limit law tonight, and then we'll again renotice it, have a second public hearing in, 4 weeks, and then be able to make the change then. And you guys are welcome to come out in person or Zoom and give us your thoughts. So, all right.
We like people here, actually.
All right.
But if it
Oh,
becomes
this
a
is
dead
way
end, you
back.
might want it to be 25.
Yeah, you're right about that, okay.
I just see this happening. I'm going to open up the police blotter on Monday morning. I see David Rung caught speeding 32 miles an hour in 20. Okay, so any other comments from the board?
No.
Okay, I'll make a motion to close public hearing number 3. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. My other favorite public hearing, I'll make a motion to open public hearing regarding local law 19-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-37, Schedule F, stop sign at Somerset Avenue and McGee Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we can open this up to public comment. I'm just going to pull this open in the packet, but this should be for the three-way stop sign that we discussed. Is there any comment from the public? Okay.
Where is the stop sign?
It's
at the intersection of Somerset and McGee.
South McGee, Somerset, McGee, South McGee, Somerset.
Yes, yes.
Stop at the bend?
On either side, because nobody knows how to turn.
But is there a stop sign at Somerset?
Only from the Somerset side before you hit McGee.
I mean, that's.
I'll read this out, and then again, people can come up to make public comment. All right.
Go ahead and read it, Justin.
Okay, so McGee Street, so there'll be a stop sign on McGee Street, direction of travel south at intersection on Somerset Avenue. Stop sign on South McGee Street, direction of travel west at the intersection of Somerset Avenue. And stop sign on Somerset Avenue, direction of travel north and their intersection at McGee Street. So those are the 3 stop signs. And also just wanted to thank you, Andrew, for your help on this local law, as well as Ken Gray from your firm for getting this done for us, so thank you. Amy, did you want to make a comment?
I kind of do.
Okay, feel free to
I'm just
come on up.
curious, how the person that lives in the house at that curve on the right-hand side of the road heading north, there's a house right there on that curve, the north side of South McGee, as you're at the stop sign for Somerset, and you're going to make a left from South McGee. So you're talking about putting a stop sign there. How are they going to? Is that going to be kind of annoying for the people that live in that house right on that bend to have people just constantly stopping at their? Well, I mean, it is up to them. It's their. But it's not it's such a sharp curve. I don't ever see anybody flying around that curve.
Oh, no, Amy.
From South McGee.
All right, let's,
Right.
I guess I'm wrong about everything.
Peter wants to say something.
Amy, I brought a gavel to a meeting once, and that was the end of it. That was the first and last time, so I'm not going to be able to use that.
It seems to sound to me like we're gonna have a special assignment for signage, special assessment. Second of all, once that's closed, you won't need those stop signs there on the corner, on the McGee Street and Somerset.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
So,
but we could
if
still put the stop
Andrew, if
sign
we
in
do
there.
obviously create that cul-de-sac or that one way, then obviously we can have a local law to remove the stop signs.
Might make sense to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can come
So
on
we
up
could
if you.
do that for now,
Okay.
and then,
Are we on the track to close it? or-
We're on the track
We're
to
on the
close and
track to
pass.
close
Then
it.
I'll be quiet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any
But in
comments from the
But
board?
in the meantime, we could put the stop signs there until that time.
Would you
comes
like the
that
stop
we-
signs until it's closed?
Okay.
Okay,
So in the meantime,
okay.
let me make this really clear. Go hang out.
You got to speak into the microphone.
Go hang out around 4:30 or 5 o'clock on McGee. Cars come in from the village. They're going approximately 40 miles an hour or 35. They approach Somerset. They peel left as fast as they possibly can go. They probably blow through the stop sign at our intersection, which is why they nearly hit her son. They are not stopping there as they turn. We need stop signs. Someone's going to get killed. Or close it. I'm all for that.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, just a few more, just best practices. Again, we'll call on you. You have 3 minutes. State your name, record for the record. You can speak into the microphone, just so we can get this on the public television. But again, thank you. All voices have been heard. I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We've got these resolutions, approving them later in our agenda. So I'll make a motion to open our fifth public hearing. That's a public hearing regarding local law 20-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code, Chapter 116-37, building permits, certificates of occupancy, fees, and enforcement. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll turn this over to Andrew, but basically what this public hearing is about is we're making an amendment to our local code to be more strict on the few people out there that basically don't follow our building codes and ordinances. So what this code what this public hearing hopes to accomplish is that if you're a builder and you routinely violate our property maintenance code, New York State law, village law, what this is going to do is you have to fix your ordinances and your property violations before getting another building permit. I'll turn this over to Andrew if you want to maybe clarify or explain from a legal perspective, what this local law does, but that is the general layperson's summary.
That's the summary, Mayor. The local law prohibits the building department from issuing permits to owners that are the subject of pending violations or have monetary obligations owed to the village.
Thank you. We've got quite a few, or not quite a few, but a very small handful. 90% of the people obviously follow the law, but we've got a very small handful of people that owe significant, sums of money to the village that refuse to obviously obey by our laws. So this hopefully strengthens it. And again, that's the gist of this law. So I'd like to turn this over to comments from board members, and then we could open this up to the public.
No comments.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to close public hearing number 5.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'll make a motion to open a public hearing for 2023 Community Development Block Grant. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll actually turn this over to Charlene, our village administrator, to explain what this is, but we are allowed to award nonprofit organizations block grants that I believe come in from Suffolk County, but I'll turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. The Community Development Block Grant is a federal funded program that comes through the county. The village is part of the CDBG East End Suffolk County Consortium. We participate in a pool of funding that's allocated to a certain demographic of the population. We actually have 2 current nonprofit organizations in the village that have received this funding that actually served the community that fits the population demographic as required by the federal regulation. And we generally get about $13,000 a year. One year it was decreased down to up to 10 because there was some budget cuts in Washington. But other than that, we get $13,000. And traditionally, the village has had 2 applicants. I have statements from both of the organizations, and the village board will make a determination to allocate the funding on a 50-50 basis to those 2 organizations. One is the Southampton Daycare Center, which is on David White's Lane, and the other is Heart of the Hamptons.
Question, are they the only 2 not-for-profits that are eligible for this?
I believe so, yes, currently.
Thank you.
That said, I do have statements from both of the organizations. They weren't here to, Molly usually comes to the meeting, but she wasn't able to make it tonight. She asked if we were to read this letter into the record, or if the mayor would like, we can just make it part of the record.
I think it makes sense if we make it part of the record. I think that we're ready to follow through. They're both outstanding organizations, Heart of the Hamptons Food Pantry, Daycare on David White's Lane, obviously rising cost of childcare locally and in the country, very important. So I think we can move forward because I believe this board is going to obviously be approving both those. So we can just include them in the minutes in the public record. So thank you
I think
very much.
everybody's familiar with what
Yes.
they do
Yes.
and their mission.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, so any comments from the board?
No?
Comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the 6th public hearing tonight.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we are now done with our public hearing portion, and we'll move forward with the suggested resolutions. I'll turn this over again to Charlene, who can read them, and our board could obviously vote accordingly.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 1, resolved that the claims for the warrant dated October 12th, 2022, totaling $825,738.17, warrant A16 General Fund, $56,310.47, warrant H6 Capital Fund, and $4,470.68, warrant A15 Utilities, warrant are approved, audited and approved. Is there a motion?
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
All in-
Discussion?
Yes.
So lately, I have been basically voting against these resolutions. It's not really traditional to see the mayor do that, but I've been doing that because I just would like to remind the board, and I appreciate everything the board has done, but I would like to remind the board simply that we really have to rein in our expenses. I know most of these expenses are obligatory and non-discretionary, but there's a few discretionary expenses. Again, we've got $7,800 bill from Fluid Imagery in here, and a few other bills here that I think that we need a little slightly better job reining in costs. So I just like to do that just so we can really rein things in a little bit. Next year is going to be particularly tough on our budget, particularly when we're going to be seeing, I believe, declining building department revenue, which is the #1 profit driver for the village, and then also a decrease in mortgage tax revenue, given where interest rates are heading. So I think we have to be extra efficient, extra frugal when it comes to village expenses. We're in great shape this year, but the next fiscal year, when we put together our budget, I believe that we're going to be in for some pain. So I just want to make sure we're really focused on containing all the costs here. So again, I appreciate all the work everyone's done, but just a friendly reminder to the public and to the board. So thank you.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Resolution number 2, resolve the reading of the minutes for the public sessions of August 23rd, September 8th, and September 20th, 2022 are dispensed, accepted as filed by the village clerk, and are hereby ratified and approved. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton authorize the village administrator to publish the notice of public hearing to be held on Friday, October 28th, 2022, at 6 p.m. as a hybrid in-person/Zoom meeting regarding local law 14-2022, the proposed amend Village Code Chapter 107, Trees. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 4, resolve the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves local law 16-2022, the proposal to amend the Village Code Chapter 110-37, Schedule F, stop sign on Powell Avenue. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 5, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approve local law 17-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-36, Schedule E, U-turns on Hill Street. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 6, resolved the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves local law 18-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-39, Schedule H, speed on Hill Street. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 7, the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves local law 19-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-37, Schedule F, stop sign at Somerset Avenue and McGee Street. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 8, resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Incorporated Village of Southampton hereby approves local law 20-2022, the proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 116-37, building permits, certificate of occupancies, fees, and enforcement. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 9, resolved the Board of Trustees approves the request to waive the Zoning Board of Appeals fee associated with the application from Heart of the Hamptons. Heart of the Hamptons paid a $750 ZBA fee on June 28, 2021, and never filed a ZBA application. They are filing the application now. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 10, whereas under New York State Village Law, Section 7-712 and 7-718, all Village Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals members, including alternate members, are required to complete a total of 4 hours per year of training. And whereas New York State Department of State Division of Local Government Services offers training online through their website, and whereas there are a number of local professional organizations that provide sessions that meet the requirements of training, and whereas the local governing body has the discretion to determine whether these programs shall meet the yearly requirement, and whereas the board finds the availability of a variety of options will improve the access and convenience for the volunteer members of the board to achieve the requirement while providing a diversity in program areas and improve individual knowledge and experience, and therefore the Board of Trustees hereby pre-authorizes educational programs for which a certificate will be provided by the following organizations: New York State Conference of Mayors, Suffolk County Planning Federation, Nassau County Planning Federation, American Planning Association, including the Metro Chapter and Long Island Section, and Suffolk County Village Officials Association. And be it further resolved that completion of online recorded New York State DOS programs totaling 4 hours may be used to satisfy this requirement. And be it further resolved that certificates of attendance totaling 4 hours must be filed with the village clerk's office by the secretary of the land use boards for each member or alternative. And be it further resolved that when a certificate of completion is not available, that the participant shall provide a signed letter to the secretary of the land use board certifying attendance with the title and of the sessions, number of hours, and date of attendance to be filed with the village clerk. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in
Just to
favor?
make a quick discussion. This is great. This is basically training for our land use board members, and between all these organizations, there's a great opportunity to increase training and improve, obviously, services to village residents. So sorry for the discussion there,
Yeah.
but all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution number 11, resolved that the Board of Trustees approve Corey Sweeney, Acting Supervisor for the Highway Department, and Bob Hand, Supervisor of the Building Maintenance Department, to attend the Nikon Public Works Training School from October 3rd to the 5th, 2022 in Lake George, New York. The course fee is $305 per person, meals, hotel accommodations, and travel expenses totaling $633 per person. The entire cost estimate to be $1,876. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, this obviously already happened.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was ratifying it.
It's a good conference.
It was a
All
great
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 12, the Board of Trustees approves the budgeted salary increase for accountant Julie Krudop to $67,350, effective October 13th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Quick discussion here. I'll say a couple quick points. Julie's an outstanding employee. She is one of our accountants. She helps us with our budget, and she's been invaluable, so we wanted to congratulate Julie. The second thing I will add is, or there's a few things I'll add, is number 2 is I think it's important for the village to put together performance reviews, because right now when we give raises, we give them, but there's no rubrics or matrix to determine how we give raises. So I think it's critical that we put together some type of review system like most businesses do, so we can tell employees why or why not they might be getting raises. Obviously, I think it's important to give everybody, the chance to get raises here. And so I think that's really important. And then the third thing I'll add is, obviously Julie has a colleague, Vicki Beers, and I think her getting a raise would also be fair, especially in light of this. We can discuss that later tonight in executive session, but I just want to add that to the public record. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution number 13, Board of Trustees appoints Jada Gant to the position of part-time office assistant in Village Hall at an hourly rate of $25 per hour effective October 14th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Just on this resolution, Jada was our summer seasonal. She was helping us out since we had one of our employees out on leave, and now we have to bring her back to a part-time. So that's the need for the resolution.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolved that the Board of Trustees appoints Tajay Anderson to the position of temporary senior assistant, office assistant in the building department at an hourly rate of $30 an hour, effective October 14th, and approves a stipend to be paid for notary services in that position in the department in the amount of $2,000 per annum. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 15, the Board of Trustees retains Elena Kakavas, Esquire of Kakavas ADR, to investigate certain complaints referred to her by the village trustees, and that Ms. Kakavas shall be paid a rate of $275 per hour, plus reasonable expenses incurred for the performance of services. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 16, the Board of Trustees approves the purchase of 50 copies of the Comprehensive Master Plan from BFJ Consulting at a cost of $3,000 paid for by Trustee Special Projects. Copies will be available for purchase at the office of the village clerk at a cost of $60 per copy. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in-
Discussion, just to say that this was because there were some people that requested hard copies of the master plan, the comprehensive plan. And so BFJ, our consultants, are going to make this available to us, and then we would be able to recoup the cost of these publications when somebody requests to purchase one. It'll also provide some additional copies for the village and employees of the village. Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number...
We didn't
Oh,
approve it
I'm
yet.
sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 17, the Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor or his designee to sign an agreement between the Village of Southampton and Hink Electrical Contractors for the purpose of the maintenance of street signals within the Village of Southampton at a monthly cost of $3,970, Suffolk County contract pricing. This is a necessity due to the closing of the business Johnson Electrical Construction, our current contractor. The new agreement will replace our current contract in place. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 18, resolve the Board of Trustees authorizes the following batteries deemed surplus by Shane Finicaro, Chief Southampton Village EMS. The batteries were acquired with equipment purchased from 2009 to 2017 and are considered surplus. We have located a vendor, Integris Equipment, slated for the purchase of the batteries at a cost of $900. We're going to need an amendment on the floor for this because some of the batteries were damaged. I got a late in the day email this evening from Shane stating that the new price is going to be $650. So could we have a motion to amend the resolution to add the $650?
Motion to amend to $650.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On the amended resolution, do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 19, the Board of Trustees approves that the following maximum rates are hereby set by the Village Board of Southampton for non-prevailing wage rental of equipment for snow and sand removal by the Superintendent of Public Works for 2022 for use during snow and other storm cleanup emergencies. 10-wheel dump truck, minimum 65,000 pounds, $225 an hour. 6-wheel dump truck, minimum 18,000 pounds, it's $170 an hour. 6-wheel dump truck, minimum 27,000 pounds, $190 an hour. Tractor trailer, minimum $80,000, 80,000 pounds, $220 an hour.
1-ton pickup truck, $150 an hour. 3/4-ton pickup truck, $140 an hour. 1/2-ton pickup truck, $115 an hour. And payloader, minimum 2 yards, $170 an hour. Minimum 3 yards, $180 per hour. Minimum 4 yards, $190 per hour. Minimum 5 yards, $200 an hour. And minimum 6 yards, $220 an hour, with multiple purpose bucket added at $40 an hour. A skid steer loader with rubber tracks, minimum 1/4 bucket, $165 an hour. With snow plow attachment, add $15 an hour. And bucket truck with 70-foot boom, $220 an hour. This was advertised in the newspaper by our acting superintendent, acting superintendent, Steve Phillips, and he wants to get ahead of the curve and have some contractors available for snow removal and any emergency storm cleanup after a hurricane or tropical storm. So is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 20, whereas the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Fine Arts Festival to be held in Agawam Park on Friday, June 9th, 2023 through Sunday, June 11th, 2023, with varied times from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 21, the Board of Trustees approves the save the date for the Southampton Artists Association to host its 21st annual outdoor art and park event on Agawam Park during the weekend of July 15th to 16th, 2023, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. to include setup on date of Friday, July 14th, from 4 to 7 p.m. DPW and building maintenance will be notified to ensure their departments are aware of the event and details. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 22, whereas the Board of Trustees approves the Southampton Fine Art Festival to be held in Agawam Park on Friday, August 25th through Sunday, August 27th, with varied times from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second. And a comment, please. I just want the public to know that they will be working together with the chamber to accommodate the farmers market on those Sundays, when the farmers market is usually in Agawam Park.
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 23, the Board of Trustees hereby approves Stony Brook Southampton Hospital to hold its annual 2023 Hamptons Marathon, Half Marathon Capstone event on Saturday, September 23rd, 2022, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 24, the Board of the Village of Southampton authorizes the village court to apply for a JCAP grant in the for the 2022-23 grant cycle in an amount up to $225.99. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Quick discussion. Is that, what's the $225.99
That's the
number?
amount of the grant.
Looks a little low, no?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yes, Charlene
Okay.
before.
Yeah.
Yes, and then they have, of course, we have to have.
What is that supposed to be specifically for, the $225?
Well, every year, it's a capital improvement grant, so they have to come up with a capital improvement. It's only to be spent on capital. So a few years ago, the judge applied for a grant for about $22,000 and received it to have the window configured for COVID. And
Okay.
she did receive that grant. So I think she's just going to make a small equipment purchase with this.
Okay.
So,
I thought it was a typo.
Yeah.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 25, resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the following modifications to the Board of Trustees schedule for meetings. Change Board of Trustee work session that is scheduled for Tuesday, October 25th to Friday, October 28th at 6 p.m. and add a Board of Trustees special meeting executive session for Thursday, October 20th to start at 6 p.m. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second?
And a quick update for the public. What this is we're changing our next meeting, which is typically on Tuesday to Friday, because myself and other members of the board will likely be attending the town secret review for the concern for independent living. That's the housing, that's the zone change that's going on Canada 39, and they're having a secret review, so we want to make sure that we're present because the village is an interested party, and I would encourage residents to do their own research as to what is going on that zone change. So just wanted to inform the public on why we're doing this.
Yeah, it's now known as Liberty Gardens, and they're adding 60 housing units very close to the entrance to the village there at North Sea Road. Or that's what the zone change is intended to do. So again, concerns about traffic, 60 additional units. The village needs to participate in those discussions. And we welcome any other village residents that would like to talk about the traffic situation in the village.
I love you, Somerset. Enthusiastic
Coming
they are.
coming to the town hall on again Tuesday, October 25th at 6 p.m. Where you can voice your concerns about additional traffic on County Road 39, because I think we all agree that there should be more, right?
So all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That concludes the resolutions.
Okay, so we're going to move to comments from board members. Just typically how we conclude our meetings, then we'll move to executive session. So,
Can I just say one thing,
Yeah,
though,
please.
Jesse? So we do need to take action if we are going to extend the.
No, we don't.
We don't.
Actually, I had Kathy pull out the resolution as the board adopted it, and I would defer to council, but it says here that the pilot program shall be in place until rescinded by the Board of Trustees. On both of them. We discussed 2 weeks, but that's the way the resolution was adopted.
Okay.
That's what it says on the village website, though.
Right.
Okay. Can I ask a question, though? Would the board want to continue also the no left turns on Lee and Captain's Neck at this time? Or should we just go forward with the Somerset no right turn?
I mean, it's really up to the board. The irony is, I think we need to go all or I mean, this is, obviously we address a safety issue on Somerset, which
Right.
is important, but then we're kind of just singling an issue. So obviously we need to make the decision, do we extend those no lefts and no rights on other streets?
Mhm.
Or do we just carve out Somerset? If we just carve out Somerset, we're of course going to have back to the normal side streets, normal traffic, so
Mhm.
you can only imagine what the summer will be like. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just, I didn't hear as many complaints about the south side of Hill Street. In fact, the complaints I did hear on the south side of Hill Street is that they did not like it. Obviously, we heard from a lot of people on the north side of Hill Street on Somerset, and so that seems to make sense to me. But again, I'm just giving you the feedback that I received from residents south of Hill Street that said they did not like the no left turn. But again, it's up to everybody on the board to make a decision, and I'm happy to do whatever the majority wants to do here.
How many residents complained to you?
I probably heard from 3.
Okay.
But the other point is, no one from Lee Avenue or Captain's Neck came in to say that they were in favor of continuing, like we had from Somerset say they definitely want us to continue it. So the question is, should we continue something when there didn't seem to be a lot of traction there? I don't know, does anyone want to add anything to this? How about former trustee McLaughlin? Do you have any comments?
I'm good, though.
Okay.
I mean, we obviously want Somerset.
Right, understood. So the question is, yeah, exactly, and that's why I think your street really makes a lot of sense why we need to do this and study this further. My concern is that maybe it doesn't make sense to continue it at this time on Captain's Neck and Lee Avenue for the left turns onto Hill Street.
Yeah, and we obviously don't know the situation there, so we couldn't even speak to it.
Charles?
Charles?
I can't hear these people.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, sorry,
okay.
Charles.
I would just ask back to the analysis of how the traffic is moving on Hill Street, because I tend to think that as you're changing behavior and forcing everyone to use Hill Street as the main thoroughfare, you're gonna adopt, and people are just gonna stop using Lee Avenue as a end around and a shortcut. So I think keeping it there long enough to have the analysis of the traffic pattern on how it's impacting the flow on Hill Street might be helpful, but as soon as you get rid of it, now you're back to where you went, unless you have people that are, I mean, I can't speak for that side of the neighborhood, whether they're for it or against it, but obviously we're here to support Somerset, but recognize it's a bigger issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, first of all, it's in 8 or 10 days now, or be 10 days, and the people are just getting used to the changes. So I think if we just keep it to Somerset, everything that we've worked towards, training people, so to speak, is going to, you know, just have been wasted. A lot of money and a lot of overtime also that this program has been costing, but if it works.
Trustee, I just did get a,
From acting lieutenant?
yes,
Yep.
Lieutenant Hertow just said that
Lieutenant.
she would have some staffing issues, and the overtime is going to be quite
Yeah.
a budgetary
I
impact
know,
if
that's
we
why I did
continue
want
the
to
whole
speak
thing.
with her first.
I believe that if we are going to just carve out Somerset, we probably would have to take action, because the resolution 23 that we passed at the last meeting was no left turns on Lee and Captain's Neck from 3 to 7, and no right turns on Somerset during
Right,
that. So
right.
I guess they're in one resolution, so if we're going to discontinue.
So again, I'm just going to voice a couple more concerns. So I did have residents saying that they would like to have, this is of Lee Avenue and Captain's Neck, they would like to have stickers so that they would be allowed to make the left turn, but no one else would be allowed to make the left turn. I mean, it was getting that ridiculous. And I also am concerned about the additional overtime of our police department trying to regulate 3 different streets. I think maybe concentrating on one makes sense at this time, but again, for fiscal duties as well, I think maybe we should not have the police out there enforcing the left turns on Lee Avenue and Captain's Neck.
I don't think we need as many officers doing this, particularly when you've got the cones set up and people are being trained. So I feel like we can be more efficient with the use of our officers, particularly this time of year when there's not a lot going on. I think I actually disagree that it's going to create so much overtime if we're a little more efficient with the use of our personnel.
Well, Jesse, you're always trying to make sure that we don't spend
Right.
money in this
No, and
village.
we should-
And I think we should get the figure from the lieutenant on what the overtime has cost thus far.
$17,000.
17,000, the first day was $5,000.
Okay, so I
Which we
mean,
knew there were gonna be associated costs
And that's
with
going to
this,
happen,
but-
that's also happening on the town level as well, and we're actually helping out the town on their pilot program
Right,
because they also
right,
don't have enough
right.
personnel.
but the more streets that we do this at, Jesse, the more complicated and expensive it becomes.
Well, we need a few traffic control officers. We don't need,
Okay.
an entire fleet of personnel there. And our police department's done an outstanding job.
Yeah.
I think we could probably pull back the number of officers we're using. I mean, we'll be clear. I mean, I'm happy to help support the residents of Somerset regardless.
Yes, yes.
But what's going on here is that we were likely going to rescind this, and residents of Somerset said don't do it, and so there's
Right.
clear support there.
Right.
But the issue is, if we do nothing on the other side streets, we're going to be back. We're going to be back to where we started.
And a step
Um,
back.
And we'll be in the springtime. Before you know it, you'll have every landscaper and service industry company coming out, driving all the way to the east end of Long Island, East Hampton and Montauk, and we'll be in another parking lot on our side streets, on Moses, on other streets as well. And so, that's, so we're basically just putting a Band-Aid on the situation. I've been speaking almost every day to Charlie McCardle, who's the town highway superintendent. And what he reiterates, because he's been studying what's going on County Road 39, is you have to keep everybody on the road.
Yeah.
The second you have people using
absolutely.
side streets and doing the one-to-one merging, you're going to have even a bigger traffic jam. This is, economics 101 game theory, which is when you've got one party, when you have both parties that do the right thing, you've got the ideal situation. When you've got one party that goes for the shortcut and another party that does the right thing, you've actually really hurt the party that's doing the right thing. And then when obviously the third scenario is when you've got both people doing the wrong thing, that's also really bad. So this is just classic game theory here. I mean, if we need some time to evaluate, I'm fine with that too. But I think at some point, we can't just sit here and do nothing for the rest of the village.
But
So
that's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing.
That's not what we're doing. We're discussing it, we're trying different programs, and balancing them out as well, as not only just the streets that have been concerning, but also trying to work with the village and the state the county and the state to take care of those lights up on Andrews and to try and make it easier for people to stay on the County Road 39. I mean, we're trying to do it's not gonna be, as I said before, I said last time, the goal really is to try and keep the people on the main arteries and out of the side streets. But I don't think you could just carve out Somerset at this time. I think it's got to be all or nothing. Otherwise, this past 2 weeks of training and money are really down the drain.
Right,
Because-
exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a moment for public comment?
Sure.
Sure, come on down. We usually don't do that, but I think it's important because we've got everyone here.
Jack Zacharias, 160 Somerset Avenue. I would encourage the board to consider, as one of our neighbors mentioned, having some data back before you make a final decisions, any final decisions on suspending or limiting the program. And the reason I say that is that you've made an initial investment, right? And obviously there's some concern about the spend. You want to be able to demonstrate some return on that investment, right? In order to be able to demonstrate a return on that investment, you've got to look at what quantitative data you're getting back on your study and then make an informed decision. It doesn't sound to me like you need to rescind the program tonight. It sounds to me like you probably need to study the data and then make a more informed decision about which streets you keep no left turns, no right turns on. Just a suggestion. I mean, it doesn't sound like you're obligated to decide tonight, other than as Bill mentioned, the concerns around the spend. And if there's a way to limit the spend, because honestly, once you train drivers not to make those turns, you'll need a much more modest police presence, as you mentioned, like a traffic officer as opposed to a police officer potentially, before you, to reduce your spend.
Right.
So I would just encourage you to get the data as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd be willing to let this go until the meeting on the 28th. And again, I'm carving out Somerset, but on the 28th, we need to have some data. And also, I would like the update on the overtime. And at that time, I will vote my conscience on what we should do with Lee Avenue and Captain's Neck.
We also could do it on the 20th, because we've got executive session on the 20th, so we
Okay.
can even exit it,
If we have the data.
Yeah, we need to get some data.
Have
If
to
we,
get
if we have the data, we can do it on the 20th.
Ryan and Chick out there.
Yeah, so again, I'm happy to wait till our meeting on the 28th. That's 15 days, that's another 2 weeks.
There's 2 different traffic studies going on as well. So
And-
it is
and,
important to get that data back.
And again, but I do want to keep a running tally of overtime, because we have to keep our
Lieutenant
eye on
Murtaugh
that.
is
As
doing
as
that,
the mayor
yes.
likes to point out.
She's very good she's good with the numbers.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So it looks like we'll go into our public comment from board members, but we at least have one more week.
Yeah.
But we should just make sure that, first thing tomorrow morning, we check in with our traffic engineers and make sure they're out there doing their job too. Okay, very good. So trustee Arrest, I'll let you kick off the comments from board
Okay,
members. We'll
well,
listen now to
first
the
I'd
board.
love to thank everyone here. This has been a fantastic meeting, and it makes us easier to serve you, because we need to hear your concerns. And we need to hear the little things about the history, and it's so important for us to be able to move forward and get things done, because we are here to serve you. So I'd like to thank everybody for being, and really sticking it out, because nobody ever stays for the resolutions. So that was great. Usually people talk and then they leave, but you guys are great. So, but I'm going to talk to David Rung, because he left before the resolution, so I'll have a little chat with him. But, so of course, we're going to continue our work with the traffic. I'd like to congratulate Tom and Matt and James for their teamwork that led them to become the employees of the month. That's great. I love when any of our staff, especially DPW, because I'm liaison to DPW, when they work as a team, because just like this meeting, we're working as a team, and that's the way that you get things done. So that's just great. We were talking about training, and the guys, we passed the resolution, although they went already. They had a great couple of days up in Lake George, and that's part of what, as a board here, we love to, we're trying to raise the employees, our wonderful employees up, and they are loving it, that we're sending them for all kinds of educational programs and conventions. And this was one from the American Public Works Association. They took different classes to get up to speed on different technology, equipment, and digital management and things like that. So I'm glad that our DPW is moving in the right direction. They took a very interesting class about ice treatment for the roads, and very happy about that. And also, so they'll be ready. And as you've all heard, the other resolution about all the equipment, that's all going to be set up. So we'll hopefully we don't get a snowstorm, but just in case, they will definitely be ready. They also took some other classes about pressure washing and other methods of cleaning and maintenance of public property. So that was good. And I think the only thing I'd like to also mention that Saturday morning, but I think the mayor is going to talk a little bit more about this. There's going to be a dedication in Railroad Plaza, which I kind of mentioned before. It's going to be renamed the John Holden Plaza. He was a veteran. He died last year. He was 101 years old. He was very, very community-minded and active, and we'd like to honor him in this way. So it's 10 o'clock on Saturday morning at Railroad Plaza. So if you want to see the little curtain pulled down on a few nice words being said for John, that's Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. And I don't think it's going to be raining, so love to see you all there as well. You want to mention about the LEAF program, or we could save that actually for next time too? Just the announcement of the fall LEAF program. It's because our meeting was extended. I usually leave this for the next meeting. It's going to start Tuesday, November 1st, and it's going to go through Friday, December 30th. Please remember, no contractors. Contractors still have to take their leaves and dispose of them themselves. And they'll be picked. It's the same thing, everything along the curb, no plastic bags. If you want to bag them, you have to get the bags here. So you'll see a flyer. It's probably on the village website as well. So the information on that. But I just wanted to say that that'll start on November 1st.
Thank you, Trustee Resta. Trustee Brown.
Good evening again. Once again, I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening, because truly together we can come to the solutions. Thank you for all of your comments. They are duly noted. And we have the consultants that we can refer back to make sure that things are well tended to. So thank you so very much. It's a wonderful participation. I invite you to come back out again, and thank you. I want to salute our employees of the month and thank them for all that they do. I also want to thank our executive officers getting things ready for the weather if it does come for the winter. And as we know, that is all part of safety. Safety is very, very dear to us and concerned in the fashions of our roads, in the fashions of our traffic, in the fashions of making sure our children are well protected, and also for this charming village to stay charming. And once again, I thank you all for coming, because I feel as though, and I think I can speak for the board as well, that we are in the right direction. And this line of communication is excellent, so thank you, and I commend you all.
Thank you, Trustee Brown. Trustee Manger.
Yeah, well, without reiterating what everyone else has said, I really do appreciate community members coming out to these village board meetings. Usually people come out to only want to yell at us, but I appreciate that this was a very open dialogue, and I think we're going to figure out a solution. And I want to, again, thank all of you for making the time here on a Thursday night to come out and speak to us about your concerns and what you've experienced on your street, in your neighborhood, your community, so that we can then serve you all better. So I appreciate that. Speaking about training, I'm glad that we were able to, again, provide training now for our land use boards. Those, individuals that serve the village also on the zoning board and the planning board, that's, a lot of time that they spend on that. And if we can get them some training to help them do their jobs better, I think that will obviously help the village. So I'm glad we were able to again, carve out some programs that they can participate in. And finally, I think we wanted to have a walk-on resolution possibly about the parking situation on Elm Street, because I know we've been getting a lot of complaints. We've been talking about traffic all night, but we didn't get to talk about the parking on Elm Street. And is there a way, Attorney Preston, that we can have a walk-on resolution so that we can have a change in parking on Elm Street for the 28th?
For one day?
Well, no.
No.
I mean, we have to notice that we would have a public hearing. And my concern is if we don't notice it tonight, we won't be able to take action on the 28th, and it'll get then pushed into November. And I know the residents of Elm Street are very concerned about the no parking situation that is in the current village code. And so I would like to address that. And so what I would like to do is have a walk-on resolution to notice that there will be a public hearing on the 28th to discuss the parking and parking restrictions on Elm Street.
No issue here, trustee.
We can do that. There's a few walk-on resolutions, because we've also got to do the speed limit. We have to renotice that. And we've
Okay.
got the vacancy
Okay.
registry.
Okay, good.
As well, so there's an opportunity
So
there.
I would like to, I would like to just make that known, though, so that we can make sure that we do address that, because I did tell people on Elm Street that we were going to take care of it this month, and I really don't want it to go till November.
We would need, to do the resolution, we would need to have the citing of the code. Do we have that?
No, but we can.
Okay.
Could we maybe do our executive session as planned, come out, and then do the 3 walk-ons?
Sure, sure.
I think that would.
Maybe we can,
Yeah.
I can talk to you
Do
as
it
an
there.
interim, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Because
Thanks for bringing
I
it
want to
up.
make sure that we address we've addressed the residents of Somerset, but I know that the residents of Elm Street have some concerns as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mangan.
And they're going to be very busy on Halloween.
Trustee Stevenson, thank you, Trustee Manger.
Trustee Stevenson had to sign off.
Okay. I'll try to make this brief. There's a few things. First, I wanted to once again thank SDPD for their help with this pilot program. But in particular, I really wanted to expend a special thank you to Sergeant Jones. I saw her out there yesterday and a few days ago. She's out there on foot. She's directing traffic. She's putting herself in harm's way by standing right in the middle of Hill Street. I thought everyone did a really good job, but in particular, I thought Sergeant Jones was just outstanding. So I wanted to thank her for her hard work and extra effort. So that's number one. Number two, I wanted to thank Kathy Sweeney, our village clerk, for helping us notice out this fall cleanup, and thank you, Trustee Aresta. Number three, I'll just echo, we'd like to invite anybody who'd like to attend at 10 a.m. At Railroad Plaza, which will become John Holden Plaza, as we recognize the life and achievements of long-standing village resident John Holden, who lived to be 101 years old. And then lastly, I wanted to just say that I had, unfortunately, I had attended the funeral today of Town Chief of Police Steve Skrzynecki. I happened to have, had the good fortune of being able to meet him. I thought he was an outstanding chief of Southampton Town. He was certainly an ally to the village here. And I'll just say that anyone who he worked with and met, he left a lasting impact on. He made everyone feel special when you spoke to him. It didn't matter where you were, what background you're from, he made you his top priority. And so we have a real loss to our community in Chief Skrzynecki, particularly the Southampton Town Police Department, but also throughout the East End, where he was the chief of police last, and before that he was the chief of patrol for Nassau County. And I just was very lucky to have met him just over 3 years ago, and served as a mentor to me as well. And it was a fantastic but sad service today, and you can tell by the number of people who showed up and the about that ceremony today that he was certainly a great person. So I'll make a motion now to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing legal, personnel, and contractual matters. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the time is 9:28 p.m. At 9:27 p.m., we made a motion to return to public session, and seeing that we're now in public session, time is 9:29. Action was taken in executive session, and a resolution was passed that the RFP was rewarded to John Ebetz for a 3-year term for the Cooper's Beach contract. The motion was made by Trustee Aresta. It was seconded by Trustee Manger, and was approved by Trustee Aresta, Trustee Manger, and Trustee Stevenson, and was opposed by myself and Trustee Brown, who had preferred our current operator, Vin. So what I wanted to do is, I just wanted to make a few comments for the record, and then we have some walk-on resolutions. First thing is, I just want to say that, first and foremost, I was disappointed by the fact that we made that resolution in executive session and not public session. Since the moment I was elected, I have always pushed for transparency. I have pushed to obviously have our post-executive session meetings done via video. When I was first elected, for example, we would have these closed-door meetings in the executive session, then we'd open the door, and then we'd pass resolutions. So I'm disappointed that our board voted not to return to public session in order to make that vote. I think for transparency purposes and to serve the public, that was a mistake. Now, I do not fault them for their opinion on this issue. One bid was more than the other. But
Significantly more.
as I will just, I can
Okay.
call on you when in just a moment. Clearly, we have a amazing beach, and that beach is to provide, in that beach we have a concession that serves the public. And I can tell you that as a fellow business owner myself, you really want the husband and wife team to be there. You want the owner to be at the restaurant. I brought that up. We also have a tried and tested operator in Bin, who's an outstanding community member as well. And I'm just simply disappointed that we did not go with Ben, who's done a great job over the last several years, who's been with us through the pandemic, and who has received many compliments by our village residents. More importantly, what I think is disappointing is that we did not include our Cooper's Beach manager, who's outstanding, Matt Weeks, in that decision. And I'd just like to read something that Matt wrote regarding his thoughts on Ben and Lauren. So he said to me, I'd like to communicate to you about my thoughts on Ben and Lauren. And he said, I truly believe that Ben and Lauren are the best representatives for the village to choose for the cafe. They have endured a lot over these past couple of years, and through it all, provided our village with what they deserve: great food, great service, and hospitality that matches Cooper's Beach. They have made our community of beachgoers and Cooper's lovers stronger through the sunset sessions and live music that they have provided. They are family-oriented and capture the spirit of our great village. It would be a shame for someone to win the bid simply because they bid higher. Each year, we invest a great deal of money into Cooper's so that our village can be well represented nationwide and provide a place for our village to come together and enjoy one another. We will need someone who matches that vision, and I believe that person is Ben. These are not my comments. These are the comments of our beloved Matt Weeks, Cooper's Beach manager, who clearly knows that Ben and Lauren have been incredible to this village. I'd further like to say that I believe that our RFP process is flawed. We have a 2.5-page procurement policy which does not match a $33 million budget of this village. There's no rubric that's in our procurement policy. There's no, there's nothing that even suggests anything about evaluating the RFP. And I believe that our RFP process needs to be updated. And I believe that our procurement policy also needs to be updated. Again, I'd like to just echo again Matt Weeks' thoughts on this. I also think that awarding someone who we have not worked with yet a 3-year contract, which is longer than we've awarded bids in the past, I believe was a mistake. I think if we really wanted to try a new vendor, we could have rejected all bids, we could have gone out, we could have offered a 1-year term, and we could have offered a 1-year term, and then if that worked well, we could extend it and continue. So I believe this is a loss to the village. I think that Mr. Betts is a good operator. He's got a great track record. I'm looking forward to trying his food this upcoming summer, but I believe it is a true loss to the village to not go with our operator that we currently have, who has a track record and who is beloved by many village residents and Cooper's Beach goers. So, of course, I'm sure that other board members are going to say something, so I'll happily turn it over. I do understand that the bid was $75,000 versus $50,000. Okay, that is clear, and I don't fault the board members for going with the higher bidder. But in this particular case, this is a service to the village. This is not a moneymaker. And unfortunately, I believe that this was a mistake, And I think that the fact that this is a split board shows that this is not a unanimous decision. So again, I'll turn this over to any board members if you're inclined to make a comment. If not, we'll continue on with walk-on resolutions.
Jesse, I would just say that I did the review of the applications with Trustee Brown and Len Zanati. We were a 3-member board. We reviewed them. We looked at, again, the variety of the menu. We looked at the variety of the prices. They were very, very similar, almost identical. I have to say that the one that we awarded to, we awarded it because we have to be fiduciarily responsible to the village of Southampton. We have to make sure that we are looking out for all the taxpayers in this village. And if we have a bid that is considerably higher than a bid, that is the right thing to accept when everything else was very, very similar. There was no reason why we should not give the bid to a person who is well-known, well-respected in the restaurant business, in the restaurant world, the food service business, and it was the appropriate thing to do and the right thing to do for the village from a fiduciary position. So I'm sorry you feel that way. I think Ben's done an outstanding job. I have nothing against Ben, but if you look at everything, apples to apples, we have to accept the higher bid from the applicant that submitted that. So that's all I have to say. We did the right thing, Jesse.
Appreciate your comment. Is there any other comments?
No, I just echo what Bill said. At this time, that's all I'm going to say.
And then lastly, I'll reiterate that I believe that it was not responsible or transparent for us to do this in executive session and for this not even to be on the agenda. To me, we have made a practice of what we're going to do next, which is passing resolution, doing a walk-on resolution, but these things, especially for an important contract, should be on the agenda in advance for the public to see. And worst case, we should not be making decisions in executive session when we clearly could be making them in public session. I believe that was wrong and is not a practice I would ever want to do again.
Jesse, this is awarding an RFP. It's awarding a contract by the village of Southampton. It is perfectly appropriate to do that in executive session. That is the purpose of executive session. We have now come out of executive session and we have made the resolution public. There is nothing nefarious going on here. This is absolutely appropriate with awarding of RFPs. This is what is done in the federal government every day, from DOD to the smallest agency in the federal government. There is nothing peculiar about this.
Thank you. All right, so.
I don't know why you would say that, Jesse. You're implying that we're doing something underhanded here. This is the way, as Bill said, this is the way RFPs are handled. Contracts are awarded in executive session, and then they are presented to the public. That's part of our responsibility as trustees.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ben and his wife for the tremendous work that they've done for the last several years. It is duly noted. We want to thank you for the time of bringing us through COVID, still having a place of peace and good environment and safety. We know it was not an easy time for you. We know that it was not easy for the village, and we want to thank you. We want to thank and commend you for your innovative ideas that you've done a long time in increasing the value and being part of the vision of Cooper's Beach being #1 again. I'm very pleased with your work, your food, and I thank you, your wife, your amazing staff. I happen to echo the words with Matt, and thank you.
So I guess we now have some walk-on resolutions, so I'd like to make a motion to walk on 3 resolutions. The first is we've got we'd like to notice the public hearing for the update to the, this is the public hearing today regarding a proposal to amend Village Code Chapter 110-39, Schedule A, speed on Hill Street. Is there a second to walk that on?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bill, you want to walk on something as well?
Yeah, Andrew,
Would you mind holding this for a second, please?
the parking.
I have language for you.
Yeah, thank you. The parking on Elm Street that needs to be addressed by having a public hearing. So thank you very much, Andrew. Was there any more walk-ons?
I have my resolution for the
Okay.
RFP subcommittee.
All right, so we'll
Shall we walk this on first, or go ahead?
May I?
We're just walking
Yeah,
these
sure,
on right now.
I'd let Andrew walk it on if
Yeah,
that's
we're
okay.
just walking them on, and then we have to vote
Yeah,
to
Andrew,
do
can you
it.
do that since you have it all there? I appreciate that.
It's to walk on a public hearing to amend local law section 110-43 Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions, specifically stopping, standing, and parking restrictions on Elm Street.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have a third walk-on that we're going to ask a request to walk this on, which is a walk-on to update the RFP process. So I'll make a motion to update that, and then we're going to need 3 resolutions to actually do those things.
You want to read this?
You
or-
tell me where you want me to go, whether.
You can just sit there, that's
Yeah,
all right, don't worry about it.
So-
So I'll make that motion to update, to walk this third resolution on regarding the RFP process. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we now need 3 resolutions to actually do those things, now that we've walked them on.
Oh,
So,
okay, yeah.
I got that.
Let's
we
do
know
it in
which,
order.
Well, I have mine written out, so if you want me to start?
Yes, you
sure,
Okay.
start with that.
Resolve, the Board of Trustees approves the request to form an RFP subcommittee consisting of Mayor Jesse Warren, Edward Moneypenny, James McNaughton, and Rose Dios to review the 9 proposals submitted to the village regarding the management, maintenance, and support for information technology service for the village of Southampton. Do I have a,
Make the motion.
Okay, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees moves to notice a public hearing to amend the local law, section 110-43, Schedule L, stopping, standing, and parking restrictions, specifically with respect to stopping, standing, and parking restrictions on Elm Street.
I'll make the motion.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's the last one?
And the third one is to notice the public hearing to amend chapter 110-39 regarding speeding on Hill Street. We'll have to figure out what dates to notice those and when we're going to set the public hearings. But we have to figure out the cadence with the Southampton Press, but we can.
Probably to do it November, first meeting in November.
So those public hearings will likely be the first meeting in
I think it's
in
the
November,
10th.
and the date will be.
I think it's the 10th.
The 10th, November 10th. So again, I don't know if we had a vote on that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9:43 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Roy, thank you.